Today we have a really exciting episode. I'm going to be going through my 1984 Chevrolet K5 Blazer sitting on a 2006 2500 chassis with the LBZ Duramax motor and the 6-speed Allison transmission. So you may have seen this build on the internet at some point in time over the last 12, 13 years. So a little bit of backstory on this truck. If y'all been following me on my other social platforms, you probably know about this truck. It used to be a viral truck. I actually built this truck back in 2010, 2011 timeframe, so about 15 years ago. Drove this truck as a daily driver with the LBZ Duramax motor in it. So this truck started its life as a military Blazer. It was in pretty rough shape. The first time I built it, we did a body swap. So we took the 1984 Blazer, set it on a 2006 2500 HD chassis from a wrecked Chevrolet Silverado. So we took 50 inches out of the frame because it was a crew cab long bed truck. So we took the longest vehicle option that you could get, and we shortened it to the shortest square body type truck out there. Everything under this truck is actually from a HD modern chassis. The motor is an LBZ Duramax. The transmission is the 6-speed Allison transmission. The 2500 chassis, when I got it out of the junkyard, already had a 7-inch lift on it. But when you body swap this Blazer, it probably adds a little bit more lift to it. So by the way that this body has to sit on this chassis, it's probably somewhere between a 9 or a 10-inch suspension lift. These are currently 37-inch tires. They're 37 1450s on a 22 by 12-inch wheel. This is not the wheel and tire setup that is going to be staying on the truck, so more details to come on that. After I daily drove this truck for almost 9 or 10 years, I actually ended up selling the Blazer to put a down payment on a house when I was getting married. And so I sold a truck to a buddy of mine who lived in Georgia. He took the truck, he had some plans for it. He was gonna redo the interior and put a full high country interior in it. He was gonna paint it, all that kind of stuff, because this truck was painted the camo green. When I owned it, I had it wrapped in a black, it started out as a matte black, then I went with a satin black wrap. And the truck was never painted. When I sold it to my buddy in Georgia, it sat at a shop in South Georgia for a very long time. And then it got to the point where he had to bring it back, and then the truck just sat. The crazy thing is, I reached out to him almost 5 years later after I had sold the truck to him. And I said, hey, you still got the truck? He said, yeah, it's just been sitting. I hadn't even driven it. So I went down there, I said, hey, I'm interested in buying it back. The original title that I signed over to him 5 years before that, and when I bought it back 5 years later, only had a difference of 100 miles. So the truck wasn't driven during that time frame. I took it to a body and paint shop in Tennessee. It's been there for a little over a year, and I just got it back from being at that body and paint shop. But we didn't just do the body work and the paint work. There was a lot of modifications that we ended up doing with the truck. There's good news and bad news. The bad news is it's not completely finished as far as the build itself. The exterior is pretty much finished, but I've got a lot of interior work to do on the truck. The good news is that y'all will actually get to see all of the progress of the interior and finishing up the build. So I'm really excited to dive in, show y'all, and give you a full walk around of everything that happened with the truck. So starting with the body and paint work. Like I said, when I built this truck originally almost 15 years ago, I had it painted a matte black. Over the years, I had to touch up the paint, different things like that. I ended up going with a vinyl wrap, but I knew one day I wanted to paint it, ended up selling it, bought it back, and I finally had the truck painted. So I went with a custom gloss black paint that actually has silver metallic flake in it. It's a beautiful color in the sunlight. This paint job is super slick on this truck, and I think it turned out great. That was the first part of the work that the paint and body shop did here in Tennessee. We took all of the wrap off, sanded it down to bare metal, fixed some of the body work that it needed, and ultimately got this thing looking super sharp. The next thing we did is we completely changed the whole front end look of this truck. If y'all had ever seen pictures of it before, I had a custom bumper on it, different grille, actually had the single headlight with the parking light in the bottom. So we changed out the core support, switched it over to dual headlights, added a cowl hood. It did not have that before. We went back with the stock bumper because I wanted it just to have a clean, classic look. So I went back with the stock bumper with the valance underneath it. The crazy thing about this bumper is the aftermarket or the custom bumper that I had on here originally was probably about 12 inches tall. So the way that this body sits on this 2500 chassis, it actually sits pretty high on the frame. So what you see here, this bumper is actually sitting above the frame of the 2500 chassis. And then I installed the valance down here to cover up some of that underneath to give it a really clean look. Went with a billet grill. I like stock grills, I like billet grills. I just like the look of this. I think it turned out looking great on the front of this truck. And I've always liked the dual headlight design, so that's why I converted the front of this truck over to the dual headlight style instead of the single headlight that used to be on here. Next on the list, if you haven't noticed it already, no vent windows. So the thing that we did on this truck that was different than what I had before, first thing, different windshield. This is actually the flush mount windshield from One Piece Products. It's advertised as a flush mount windshield. It's not actually a flush mount windshield because you can see there's still a rubber gasket around the edge. It is smaller than a normal windshield, but I was expecting it to be a true flush mount. It is not, but that is the windshield that I put on the truck. I also went with the One Piece Products driver and passenger window without the vent window. So now this is a one-piece glass, which I was very happy with the look of it. I think it looks extremely clean. It does require a lot of modification to the door itself, but these are brand new doors on here. The doors that were on this truck originally, they were all cut up from the shop trying to put the high country interior in here, so I ended up having to put new doors on this. I also went with the flush mount rear glass. Again, this is a One Piece Products rear window. It is advertised as a flush mount, but it is not a true flush mount. It does still have a gasket around the rear window. Even though it is small, it does still have a gasket. So the windows were changed, all new glass all the way around, including the rear glass, windshield, front windows, rear windows. The next thing on the list that we added were automatic side steps. So these are the amp research steps that were cut down to fit this truck. But that was something that I always wanted. Before, this truck had really big side steps to be able to get up in and out of this truck. Now we have the automatic steps on the side, and that made a huge difference. I love that addition on the side of the truck. Next on the list was part of the interior. So originally I had the AC from the 2006 truck in here. I switched that over to vintage air, but there's quite a size difference between the 2006 AC and if you went with something like a vintage air. So we converted this over to a vintage air system, which allowed me to go back with the original dash that was in the truck. I had 2006 gauges in there. I had a lot of different things from the 2006 truck, but I wanted to go back to a classic look. So to do that, we had to take out the old dash, take out the windshield, weld a new dash in place. And because of that, I was able to go back with a vintage air system. I went back with a original gauge cluster from Dakota Digital, all brand new doors, added in power door locks, power windows that work really well with the one-piece windows. Like I said, we do have some work to do on the interior, but we'll be able to clean all that up. I still have the steering wheel and steering column from the 2006 truck. Actually, the high country seats fit in here really nicely. The Dakota Digital gauges look awesome. Moving on to the rear of the vehicle, brand new rear bumper. Since I got front bumper, this is a new rear bumper. I still have to install new tag lights in here. Brand new rear glass with a new power motor for the rear. Also a big thing is we painted and fixed the fiberglass roof on this truck as well. If y'all have seen this truck before, y'all knew that I had a roof rack on top, which I had drilled holes into the fiberglass top. So we went in, fixed all that, closed all the holes up and painted it, and the top looks really good, nice and slick. So I think that that turned out really nice as well. Brand new LED tail lights, all new bright work around the lights. I just had some blacked out side marker lights that I did in the front. And we had to do a lot of work on this tailgate to make sure that it didn't hit the step bumper, shortened up the cables, but the rear window works great. And of course, I know with this being DuraBlazer 2.0, I'm gonna go ahead and start it up because this thing still sounds awesome after all these years. Still has the original exhaust that I installed on it. It's the 4-inch straight pipe from the turbo back. Even though it's set for 5 years, I feel like it never missed a beat. So I'm excited to show y'all just a quick tour of the updates and changes that we've put on the DuraBlazer since 6 years ago, since 10 years ago, 15. This thing has slowly come together how I wanted to build this thing from the start, and I'm excited to finally be able to do it. We have a lot more content coming of the DuraBlazer 2.0. We're going to be going through interior. We're going to be making some suspension upgrades, wheels and tires. There's a lot more to come with this build, and I'm excited to take y'all on that journey. If you want to follow along, make sure to subscribe to the channel because it's going to be a lot of fun building this truck and a lot of other projects that I have going on around the shop.